morning, Mr. Linehan. Thanks for coming in.
Good morning, Ms. Xu. Thank you for seeing me. I just wanted to come in and talk to you a little bit about my son. He'll be in your class, and I'm interested and just want to know about your literacy program. What kinds of strategies you're going to use for teaching reading and writing and listening and speaking. So. And then my son also has a few issues that I'm a little bit concerned about with attention and concentration. And maybe you can help me to understand what you'll do to accommodate him for that, okay, a bit later. So can you explain what you plan to do in your classroom?
For sure. Well, so every day we have about 100 minutes of uninterrupted language arts in my schedule. So my students would interact using effective oral language skills considering audience, purpose, and situation. And the students would demonstrate a variety of cultural diverse texts. And they can select, interpret, and combine information in multicultural contexts. That's my overall picture for them. So we can meet everybody where they are and improve their listening, speaking, viewing, representing, reading, and writing skills. And my literacy block includes read aloud, shared reading, guided reading, independent reading, phonological awareness, independent writing, word study, and student conferences. And also we'll do assessment. However, not everything would be included in one day, and I'll take a whole week to make sure that I do all these things. One of the many things we'll have in our classroom is a large variety of books, which I presented it on the table here. You can take a look. We'll have a large variety of books to engage more students for Dear Time, which is called Drop Everything and Read. Isn't that neat? We'll have topics, both fiction and nonfiction, that cover a variety of topics. Topics of readings will be covered connected to different subjects, such as math, science, or social studies. I found with young learners, sometimes they have a hard time adapting to school or socializing. Also with COVID, that really didn't help. So I have books, for example, with Franklin, and also with this little bear book talking about bullying, which is really good. And we have Franklin's Being Bossy, so talk about social behaviors. And we'll have also have chapter books and picture books to appeal all skill levels. For example, we'll have level reading books such as in here. We'll have different level books, and also you can purchase Reading A to Z reading apps, which is great level books to explore. And also we'll have other books showcase a diverse range of people. I'm from China, and I was an English teacher in China for 10 years. It was always my pleasure and exciting for me to introduce different culture to Chinese students, and I'd like to do this here as well. So I found this book. It's called Where Are You From?, which is a great book to display different people from different races. And also we'll have books that will show people of different cultures. So I'd like to introduce different holidays. For example, Lunar Chinese New Year. This is a good book to introduce what we do, why do we celebrate, and how we do it. And also there are books about Christmas, for example. And also I found this book. It's about Nova Scotia, The Lonely Little Lighthouse. And this is a book. It's actually illustrated by a Chinese, well, it's a Canadian author, but she studied in China. So it's about what do you do with a problem, about problem solving. And then we'll have books about different backgrounds. So for this book, Stolen Words, which is a great activity book for introducing Orange Shirt Day, about Cree language. And also we'll have different books about different gender and backgrounds and abilities. And this is a great book about showing your body. Sometimes kids feel like, oh, I'm too, I don't really like my body. I don't like it, but it's a great way to make positive thinking about your body. A habit is talking or writing daily about what you are grateful and proud of when it comes to your body. It's a great way to introduce that.
I'm a little bit concerned about my son's behavior. Sometimes he can't really concentrate or maybe even follow directions, and he gets a little bit distracted. Do you have any suggestions about how you might be able to help him with that?
Oh yeah, I understand kids at this age, eh? So I have a whole box of fidget toys I brought you to show you today. It really helps them to calm down. And we'll talk about topics in our circle time, like to calm with our body, breathing it out. And also these fidget toys really help them. And also we can always do rereading and read aloud in a guided literacy group to help them.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and then we'll have preferential sitting at the front for children who can concentrate to help them give extra attention.
Okay. How do those fidget toys help the students?
So for example, I found with hands-on activities, students get more engaged. So for example, these ones, if we talk about letters, they can make different shaped letters. Let's say, can you put an L for it? So they can concentrate there with hands-on.
And he can make a U.
They can make an U, exactly. So some students, they may have trouble sitting down. They can't concentrate. They need to move around all the time. I'll have those little fidget toys for them to move their hands instead of moving around the classroom when I'm teaching. So we'll help them to sit down. And also it's a great way to guide them to books that go along with reading activities. And I'll give you a brief introduction of my reading activities. First of all, we'll do some independent reading. I'll have that every day for 30 minutes. And it always happens with the guided reading at the same period of time. I strongly believe that students need to read for fun, for enjoyment every day. And students read what they want during this time for fun. This also serves a very quiet activity to help them prepare the language arts time later. We'll have a class library checkout form for me to keep a track what they read, which students read this part, this book. While some students are doing some independent reading, I'll work with small reading groups for guided reading. I'll sit the students who are reading at a similar development level, assisting the same context to all the members in the small group. Students read the text silently or quietly to themselves first. Then I'll guide a discussion about the group of the context, addressing its meaning through exercise targeted to the student's area of weakness or strengths. The main aim of guided reading is to instruct the students in the use of reading strategies that will eventually enable them to confidently and competently read any books by themselves. I'll use those 3 strategies. So number 1, prediction. What do you think will happen? Ask them first. And number 2, clarification. We can ask questioning. What questions do you think about this reading? Number 3, summarizing. What is the book about? While doing all these activities, I'll keep my running records to keep track of my students' progress. Graphic organizers are a good way to evaluate and assess what they've learned. So we have graphic sheets for them to write down. I can create a big picture of every child's reading level by documenting these. This is very important, so I keep track and what the student's level is. In order to help students to become strong readers, we'll do shared reading. During shared reading, I'll read with students and we'll use big picture books here. We'll discuss about the titles and then discuss about the author and illustrators. This is a book that's actually come from Nielsen, Canada. It's a huge book, so everybody can see. Students can make predictions regarding what they think the story might be about, and they can retell the story with their own words. It's a good time to model close reading, and I help them to build word knowledge and reading fluency. Shared reading is a whole group activity that's explicitly teaching decoding, comprehension, and fluency strategies. I'll spend about 10 to 20 minutes doing mini lessons using this large book that can be seen by all students every day. We'll do about a 5-day mini lesson plan to repeat core reading so it can be accessible to all reading levels. And also it helps students to build their confidence by reading out loud in front of their peers, and they have me to help them when they are needed, and allow them to succeed on their own by asking them, does it look right? Does it sound right? Does it make sense? To enjoy shared reading. Except guided reading and independent reading, we'll do read aloud as well. I love picture books. I choose books that will fit in my theme for the month, and I focus on specific reading strategies, such as determining importance, point of view, and synthesizing, putting it all together. My read aloud is an important aspect of my language program. We use tests that are more complex than what students can decode and comprehend independently, what they can understand on their own. During read aloud, I will introduce the text, read all the words, incorporate brief modeling, and think aloud. We'll teach vocabulary and ask questions. Students will listen and discuss text meanings with peers and teachers when they are invited. The aim for read aloud is to model fluency, develop comprehension strategies, build vocabulary and print concepts. It creates a bond between me and them. It's a quiet activity to calm students or have students sit in the classroom mat in a circle as our literacy community. After recess time, we'll do read aloud for every day to calm them down. It's one of the most pleasure times of the day, and it's also a method to have a gradual release of responsibility for them to understand and to read. Then we are going to talk about phonological awareness, its ability to recognize and manipulate the spoken parts of words. It includes identifying and manipulating units of oral language such as words, syllables, onsets, and rhymes. In order to improve the phonological awareness, we can sing songs, we can find other words that match with their letter sound of their names, and extra. Often at home, we can play I Spy game or rhyming baskets, which you can bring a basket bag of 2 items that rhyme inside of it. Show the first item and ask students or your kids to guess the second one. For example, we can have star, car, shoe, blue, bear, and pear extra. And I use this book called Block Books to teach phonics as well. It's a very simple book. For example, each of the book will have different letters. So for this book, we talk about 4 different letters. O is for octopus, H is for hat, G is for goat, and so on after that, and then they will start to spell dot, at, hat. So it's a very simple book, and then the kids will find, wow, I read the book myself. They'll feel really proud of themselves. And we know student skill in phonological awareness is a good predictor of letter reading success or difficulty. It's a very important skill, and reading rhyming books is always a very good, effective way to teach phonics. After reading a few times, we can probably mention that we noticed the rhyming words. We can create a word wall that which we found or which we used in this book. For example, the book One Duck Stack. That's a very good book for to teach phonics. We learned that words are made of individual sounds. The sound box tool is very useful for segmenting phonemes and blending. We can say k, r, car, d, ot, dot. So we'll have that sound box tool. And a logic to introduce uppercase and lowercase letters to build their alphabet awareness. We can start letters in their names first, and then use pictures representing letter sounds to make our letter books.
Now we have started all the foundation for reading, we can focus more on decoding. Word scaffolds decoding in reading and encoding in writing. It allows children to read books that they may have heard but haven't seen before. Word involves both decoding and comprehension. It interrogates reading, writing, and spelling, improving all the skills. It is manipulative to play with the words and connecting these using an authentic text reading and activity-based tasks. We'll have our literacy centers focus on particular skills and manipulating letters and words. We also have our word wall to be an intention and action tool for students. It will have any arrow of words that can be used during writing and reading. It will provide a permanent model for high-frequency words, which is we call sight words as well, and help students see patterns and relationships in words, thus building phonics and spelling skills. It also provides them with resources for reading and writing. On the other hand, we'll have our sound walls with visual pictures and mouse next to each sound. On one hand, we'll have the word wall, and the other one will have the sound wall. It's important to discuss the students' progress with the students and with parents. While some students are reading independently, I'll have one-on-one conferences with students to talk about their reading and writing. Students can tell me their difficulties and I can offer suggestions. We can also talk about what they like to read and what kinds of books they would like me to read more often. For assessment, I will use a variety of methods, including observations, checklists, and response to read aloud. As we all know, family plays a very important role in how well students can do in school. We suggest to you to read to your kids and at home every day. Check out local libraries. I will send simple guided reading books home so you can read together at home. Every month I will send out fun literacy ideas so you can explore at home.